Well, yeah. Michael Franzese, I asked him if Gunna was a Mafia member and he said what he said, what was on tape, what would happen? And Michael said he would be killed.
Right.
According to Mafia rules, that's snitching. They don't care if, it doesn't affect anyone else. You got on the stand in front of a judge and you said that this is a criminal organization and I've seen people do acts in furtherance of the gang.
Yeah.
So, that's against every Mafia rule that's there. And according to the Mafia, he would have a price on his head. But he just put out an album that went like number 2 and,
I love
got hit songs.
I love it. Here's my thing. I don't care about any of it. The only reason why I had any understanding of street ethics is for my own safety.
Mm-hmm.
It's for my own safety. I remember one time we was playing basketball and we out there shooting, everybody having a good time. It was one of those summer days. And one of the big homies said, "Hey man, you know that boy right there, he be talking." I was like, talking to who? Nah, I wasn't even. He's like, he be talking, man, just let you know that like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to be around him any longer. Not because I look down on him for being a snitch, but because if somebody come up with the bullshit, I don't want to be there. I don't want to have anything to do with it. Zero bullshit, okay? So for me, the Gunna thing, I love Gunna. I'm going to listen to Gunna's music after. Niggas knew not to do a crime with me. I'm not going to jail for y'all. Let me tell you something else. I also think that some of this stuff, Vlad, is because of Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you what I mean. So let's say you're coming up in Baton Rouge is 1995. You know that being rich is good, but you don't know how good. All right? You know that having a lot of money is great, but you never seen Tulum or Dubai or any of these places, right? So when you go to jail, you 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, you don't really have a concept of what you're missing out on.
Mm.
You don't.
Yeah.
Now, it's not just the rappers and people like that are going to all of these different places. That life looks so good that I feel like a lot of times when people are in a situation where they have to decide whether or not they're going to adhere to the street codes, mores, ethics, and values that have existed for a long time, there is a binary choice on the other side of it, and that is women twerking in Tulum. And they telling you, hey, you're going to jail for 10 years. But if you tell, you can deny it and you can be with women twerking in Tulum. You could be swimming with dolphins. You could be at Noble, all of this stuff. And these guys look at it, they say, oh, street code, women twerking. Street code, women twerking. And they tell. It's especially if you're like a rapper or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so my whole point is the streets to me, I'm confused about the streets. I would like to know what's going on.
Well, let's just call it for what it is, right? I'm not a street guy either. I don't care about having snitches around me because I don't break the law. There's nothing to snitch on.
Yeah.
I pay my taxes. I don't carry illegal guns. I don't sell drugs. I don't shoot people. I don't kill people.
Right.
At the end of the day, I have a legal business and, whatever happens to me, I'm not worried about any sort of actual snitching. Now, if you look at just the basic premise behind the no snitching code is so people don't get caught doing illegal activities. Like for example, I just had academics on my show recently who did a big Lil Durk interview, and Durk hates rats. But the reason why he hates rats is because his dad and I think his uncle went to prison for a very long time because of people snitching on them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then he was ultimately raised by his mother. He didn't have a male figure around, and he feels like his life was negatively affected by not having that in his life, and he blames that all on the rats. Now, in my interview, I said, well, let's just take a step back from that. I could understand that, and that makes sense to me. But then again, your father and uncle, they went to prison not just because of the rats, it was because of something they probably did illegally, right? The rat.
In a way.
In a way, or is that what it is?
In a way. In a
Okay,
way.
so-
because it's like what you're saying is true,
Mm-hmm.
but there was an understanding that what happened to them wouldn't happen to them. So whenever we're
An
talking
understanding based on illegal activities that multiple people are involved in, right?
an understanding based upon like a code, right?
Mhm.
It's like there's a code there. It's like if you're in a relationship with somebody, there's an understanding that you won't go outside of the relationship. Now, they can do something to make you want to do that, but the understand, and you can say, hey, it was actually your fault that this happened. But the understanding is that like it won't get to this point. So you're right. What they did is essentially the reason why they went to jail, but that's a non-starter to them because they feel like there was an understanding that these were secrets that were going to be kept. Because at that point, everything that everybody's doing is illegal, so that doesn't have anything to do with it. What it really has to do with is who are going to keep your secrets and how the infrastructure of that sort of thing moves. And by the way, I'd say this. If you are in the military and something happens in your unit and you tell the rest of the guys in the military are not going to fuck with you. If you're a police officer and you go run to internal affairs about something, now it shouldn't be this way. Nobody likes somebody that tells.
That shines a light on something that they did wrong themselves. You see what I'm saying? At some point, everyone needs to grow up.
I agree.
At some point, everyone needs to start acting like adults and say, you know something? I didn't go to jail because of a snitch. I went to jail because of all these robberies that I did, of all, of these kilos that I sold and so forth.
Well, hold on. But you went to jail because of the snitch.
And hold on. And let me take it one step further because let's look at Freeway Ricky, one of my regulars on my show who sold drugs more than pretty much anyone, sold more drugs than anyone I've ever interviewed.
Right.
That I know of. When he got snitched on by his plug, the guy who he made millions of dollars with, millions and millions and millions of dollars, who ultimately cooperated and put him in prison. When he got to prison, the first thing that he felt was anger and betrayal. But after a couple of years, he realized, you know something? Snitching is just part of drug dealing.
It is.
It's just part of crime.
Yeah.
If you do a crime, you will get snitched on. It's not the exception. It's not the unicorn. It's the actual rule. More often than not, you will be told on.
Well, because it plays into a very base instinct of human beings, and that is self-preservation.
Self-preservation, but usually these rules of self-preservation are usually established by the higher ups.
No. So this is what I'm saying.
See what I'm saying? So they won't go to prison, but a lot of times, like the guys on the street are all going to jail and they're not snitching, so the guy on top can keep functioning.
It's self-preservation because people, if faced with 5, 10, 25 years, obviously don't want to do that time, right? And so they're going to tell. This is the thing, and this is the part of it that's been romanticized. If you follow the history of La Cosa Nostra, the reason why they were able to avoid prosecution in a lot of ways before was because of omerta, right? They did not tell. They did not tell any of that stuff. The government then changed the game on them.
RICO.
And came with the RICO.
Right.
And so when the government came with the RICO, and then the penalties were different, and like why you could be arrested and charged and stuff was different.
Yeah, you didn't have to actually do the crime. You're just affiliated with the people who are doing the crime.
Right. That separates, in that situation, the diehards from the people who are really in it for the lifestyle and to be made guys. They're not going to jail for 25 years for you. And so they were able to kind of break La Cosa Nostra apart. I would even say that in places where I'm from, it's even a little different from that. Law enforcement preys on the community where I'm from. Law enforcement, we're over-policed. There's a distrust for law enforcement that is reflective of our relationship with them. And so whenever you involve law enforcement in a situation like that, it's like you're calling a white man to come deal with something that the community felt like they could kind of figure out. Now, this is what I'll say. You come into my house, I'm gonna shoot at you, And then after the shots are fired, I'm calling the police.
Right.
Okay? So like my thing was never, my father would never, ever, my father has never broken the law. God bless his soul. Never broken the law, was the old God-fearing Catholic man. Would never call the police about anything.
Yeah.
Dude came to the house one time. I don't know if I told you this story. Dude came to the house, middle of the night, bamming on the door. Boom, 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 boom. I wake up off the couch. My dad is like, he's like, hey, yo, no, it's some niggas behind me, man. They trying to get me. They trying to get me, man. Call the police. My dad was like, nah, man. Nah, he was like, nah, man. Walk around. We lived General Jackson. He's like, right there on Gardere, there was a Circle K. He go walk around the corner, payphone, it's well lit, call the cops from the Circle K, and they'll come help you out. And he was like, I ain't going on no Circle K. I just told you it was behind me. My father went, look. And then he walked away and he came back with his shotgun. Get off of my porch. I'm not calling the law out here. That's what he was saying. Call the law.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not calling the law out here. Get off my porch. If I call the law on whoever chasing you, now my family is in danger. And I'm not even having the police come to my house. You know what I'm saying?